Hey there! Welcome to Tiger Drop Films, and if you're a returning viewer, then thank you. Now the purpose of this video is another Godzilla video, but I feel like a lot of new fans have got into Godzilla thanks to -1. And this year for Godzilla's 70th anniversary, -1 got re-released in theaters everywhere once again, well, mostly everywhere. But once again, people got exposed to Godzilla -1, the Oscar-winning film, so pretty insane. But this is Tiger Drop Films, so I want to give you my perspective. And guy who loves Godzilla, I really liked -1 a lot. It was really great, but it still can't crack my top 12. That's just because there's so many Godzilla films I love. I have a whole ranking video breaking down my top 12. But regardless, I think that if you really liked -1, there's a lot of other Godzilla films you're gonna like too, because -1 couldn't have been made without 70 years of previous Godzilla storytelling. That's the important part today. Because, Yamazaki's a G fan, but I could tell that, when he was writing the script for -1 and going through different variations, he was subconsciously, putting scenes from other Godzilla films into this one. And that's what made -1. It's the culmination of a lot of classic Godzilla films. And that's the recommendations I'm going to give you today. If you liked -1, then check out these other Godzilla films. And after these recommendations, I got a little funny something at the end of this video that you might enjoy, so stay tuned. First recommendation, Godzilla Raids Again. If you like the post-war sort of dreadful tone of -1 and people, everyday civilians trying to make their way, then you're gonna like Raids Again. And Raids Again, I think, really captures that. More so during its second half when people are trying to live after Godzilla and Anguirus destroyed Osaka. But I think my point still stands. And much like -1, Raids Again ends with a big battle between the military and Godzilla, but it's a fleet of jets, since the protagonists are fighter pilots, and they battle Godzilla around kind of the Arctic Circle. So if you like sacrifice and you like the dreadful tones of World War II, I think you might appreciate Raids Again. It's often an overlooked film, and of course, it has my boy Anguirus. Please, Yamazaki, you better bring Anguirus back in the sequel. And for the next film I want to talk about, it's a double whammy, and it's because their soundtrack is used and reinterpreted and reorchestrated for -1. That being the original magnificent King Kong vs. Godzilla, a favorite of mine, and the other is Mothra vs. Godzilla, another favorite of mine. And both of those main title themes, so to speak, are reused for -1. Godzilla's attack in Nagoya for Mothra vs. Godzilla is reused for Godzilla's attack in Tokyo in -1. Once you hear it, you know it. And I believe that motif from Ifukube is even reused in 1993's Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, when Godzilla's really angry in that film. I could be wrong, but that's what I remember hearing. And then you got King Kong vs. Godzilla. The main battle theme or main track of the film is used during the final battle of Godzilla -1. The dun 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 dun. It's a classic theme. The original has chanting in it, and I wish that the Monsterverse had that theme when Godzilla and King Kong fought or even teamed up in New Empire, but alas, I guess -1 gave me that fix of fan service. And I believe that original King Kong vs. Godzilla piece was even used in the end credits of Godzilla vs. Destroyer, but I could be wrong. And next, I want to talk about, oh, you're gonna like this one, Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah from the Heisei era. I recently rewatched this, and the Godzilla Source scene really held up. It really plays beautifully into the whole plot, and Ifikube's songbird score was amazing. But if you remember the opening of -1, I remember thinking, that's the Godzilla Source, is it not? And, might as well have been. I think the idea was there when Yamazaki was writing the script. He was probably thinking, oh wait, yeah, younger, unmutated form of Godzilla, and somehow we got that before with Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, where Godzilla fights an army during the World War II Pacific War, and it shows up here in -1, a new take on it. So if you like that, I'm sure you'll like it in Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. Go check it out. And the next one on my list is Godzilla against Mechagodzilla from the Millennium Era. And I bring this up because, to go back to the opening of -1, we have Godzilla murder the whole platoon of the protagonist. And that exact thing pretty much happens in the opening of Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, where Godzilla kills all of Akane's Maser Tank squad. And the whole thing is that our protagonists, they froze in the moment. They froze, they held back. And that's what caused their inner turmoil for the rest of the film. So, if you like the human drama of Godzilla -1 and you've seen Godzilla blow up a bunch of things, you're gonna like the story of Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. I mean it. And even bounce back further, if you talk about Akane and Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, she has a lot of similarities with -1's protagonist. That even goes back to Godzilla against Megaguirus. We have a similar story. And I was telling my buddies on our G-Force the Kaiju podcast, I thought this was funny. Both -1 and Megaguirus end with the protagonist flying a plane, then jumping out at the last second as the plane causes Godzilla's defeat. And -1, they blew up the inside of him when he was charging his atomic breath. And Megaguirus, the jet, was helping the black hole cannon target Godzilla and temporarily, put him somewhere else. And much like the Millennium and Heisei era, -1 has the end of Godzilla, his return being teased because Toho is always on the quest to make more money. But to kind of talk about the big, long title elephant in the room, of course, 2001's GMK directly influenced -1. You know it, I'm sure you've heard it at this point. But if you're a new fan and you're curious, check out GMK. You're gonna love it. It also ends with Godzilla having a piece of his flesh regenerating in the ocean as it cuts to his theme playing over the credits. But I do prefer how GMK did with the heart and the fish, leaving it like it's more ominous in GMK. But GMK even has Godzilla causing an atomic explosion with his atomic breath, the mushroom cloud. So you can see where Yamazaki got his influence. However, one thing I do want to say is that, I don't know if a lot of people talk about this, maybe it's just my reading of the film, but me, it's just what I saw, honestly. In the end of -1, when all the crews of the ships are saluting Godzilla himself as they weren't looking at the protagonist, they saw him, then they look at Godzilla as his body crumbles into the ocean. They were saluting him at that point. And that reminded me, they just had respect for him, I believe, because Godzilla was also someone who went through World War II like they did, and they ended up having to fight each other. It's tragic. And that's why I think it's a subtle through line of -1. Godzilla was the raging alcoholic bastard he always is, but he was harmed by World War II as well, just like the characters of -1. And I think them saluting Godzilla was a way of helping them calm the beast, this angry spirit, as he went back to the ocean. And that reminded me of the end of GMK, where the Tachibana father and daughter duo, they're saluting the guardian monsters to help them take down Godzilla. It just reminded me of that, if we already had all those callbacks to GMK, then I feel like the characters saluting the monster was a given. So, those are some of my Godzilla film recommendations. Of course, if you haven't seen the original film, check out the original film. But also, please be sure, this doesn't have a direct connection to -1, but Return of Godzilla is my all-time favorite solo Godzilla outing. So, always be ready to give Return of Godzilla some respect, huh? But without further ado, thank you. I hope you check out these recommendations. It's always good to have new Godzilla fans. And here's my little thing. Watch it right now. It's my interpretation of -1.